Welcome to King Speak Volume 1, a show where we talk about all issues impacting all of society, but from a black male perspective. My name is Dom Diggity. I'll be your host today as we journey through all of these questions impacting, again, all of society. Let's go ahead and let the people know who we're talking to today. Let's start right here with Naylor.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Of course, Naylor here. Naylor's good enough. We can just go with the last name, that's fine. I am the CEO of A Side of Black Media. And a bunch of other stuff. I do a lot of stuff.
Where can we find you?
Where can you find me? Where can they find me? What am I on?
You're on every platform.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Naylor the Great. I am.
Your Twitter's a little dangerous. We won't stay away from that one.
Stay away from Twitter.
If you're not already there, don't go to
right. Just do Instagram.
If you know, you know.
Also, make sure you follow A Side of Black Media Group. That's my heart and soul. Make sure you follow that. So yeah, that's all I got.
True. Chris, what you got?
All right, Crystal O. Jordan III, originally from Orangeburg, South Carolina, now in Columbia, South Carolina. You can find me on Instagram at Crystal OJ and on Facebook at the same as well, Crystal OJ.
There we go. Marquise.
My name is Marquise Chaney. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, representing Valdosta, Georgia. I'm a real estate investor and the creator of Eavesdrop. If you're interested in following Eavesdrop, you can find it on all podcast platforms at EVSDRP, or you can find me on Instagram at EVSDRP.
There you go. Millennials, we don't like vowels. We got
Ravi Johnson. I'm a senior associate at one of your big four firms. Work in your global space as far as project management, and you can find me on Instagram at Mr. R.A. Johnson.
There we go. Don't you forget that. All right. So the way I like to start these shows is to check in with my people, right? So if we put how you're feeling in context real quick, we just finished 2020. A wild bullshit of a year. Right? We had a pandemic. We still had a Cheeto in office. We had so many different things. And we thought that we would enter 2021 in a calmer, safer, more peaceful place. Then January 6th happened. And it's been just as bad as 2020 ever since. So, in the context of a riot / insurrection / terrorist attack, in the context of a worsening pandemic, and it also with awareness of a vaccine that you may not trust, that you also cannot get, how are y'all feeling?
Love
I'm nervous now.
That was a hell of a lead-in. I feel horrible about everything.
Right, thanks for
I think that 2020 was a hell of a year. It was wild, man. It was a wild year. And of course you want to try to be as optimistic as you can. And then January 6th happened, and it's kind of like a slap in the face. It's kind of like wow, like that's, you kind of got to see like whiteness on like full display, front page, like they, a bunch of white people were able to breach the Capitol, breach the center of what is law and order in our country. And, people love to say, oh, we're a law and order country, but the one building that, that's supposed to be specifically about law and order, they were able to take that building, and that hadn't been done since 1812. So
and I don't think in 1812 they were able to take selfies with the guards when they did it either. So
that's also true. So of course you want to try to be optimistic and try to. I think daily activities, your own daily activities keeps you kind of grounded. But then every now and again you kind of get a chance to turn the TV and see exactly where your place is in the world, and that's the part that stings, because throughout the day you got 9 to 5s, you got kids, you got side hustles, all kind of other stuff, whatever you're streaming on Netflix. But when you get a chance to step away from that and look at the world, it can be a lot. It can be a lot.
Yeah.
For me personally, 2020 leading to 2021, it was good and bad. Originally, at the beginning of 2020, I was in Argentina. I went down for an assignment through my office. They moved me down there without my family. They were supposed to come in March.
Ooh.
So when the pandemic started picking up steam, it was the same week that Argentina was shutting down. Borders, flights, everything. And that week was the week my family was supposed to come down. So got on the phone with my uncle, we worked some things out. He got me a flight out that Sunday. The country shut down that Tuesday.
Wow.
So even now, the borders are still locked for U.S. citizens. So I would have been without my family for over a year, because I left in October
Wow.
of 19.
Oh.
So coming back home was a blessing. It was a good thing. As far as the workspace, they had to work some things out to switch me out of that role into a new role here in the States. And that was a lot to go through. But opposite of that, I got engaged a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Congratulations.
So,
Yeah.
thank you. So minus everything, I guess, with the riots now, with the protests over the summer, because there's a clear difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just been a lot to take in for these past couple months in totality of the year. So I'm maintaining, obviously, here. So what balances me out is my daughter. She's 2. She'll be 3 in March. So you know, just being optimistic for her future, and now the wedding. So it's been a lot to process, to say the least.
Yeah. At least you got some good big things to keep you distracted. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a blessing. Happy early birthday, super early birthday to you, by the way. All right, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm doing well. Definitely feel blessed to make it out to 2020. I mean, obviously we lost a lot of people
Yes.
in that year.
Yeah,
I think,
we did.
yeah, I mean, it's you know, affected everybody, you know, in its own unique way. So, I mean, like you said, we got to that point where we almost felt like we had a fresh start coming into the year. So as of today, like I said, I'm still feeling good, still feeling blessed, still optimistic for the future. But at the same time, it's surreal to kind of hit that reset button and see nothing's changed. You know, nothing's changed. So again, optimistic, kind of like when Ayla was saying, it's important to stay focused on, you know, your passions. But the reality is, you know, we're living in the same world, and it's tough being a black man, you know, in 2021. So.
Yeah.
All right. I'm with my brother here. It's been a bittersweet. I would say the pandemic coming in March, everybody looked at it. We thought it was going to be short. I know with my job, we work from home now. We've been working from home since March, and my boss just told us the other day. She's like, you know, we coming up on a year, and we thought we were going to be back in the office probably in April. Same year, about a month or so later, we'd be back to work. Everything, you know, it's just something that's going to be swept under the rug. Listening to, you call him Cheeto, but it didn't. And here we are, almost a year later, still working from home. The good thing from it is my wife and I got married in November of 2018.
Congratulations.
2018. She's gonna kill me when she look at my hand. But
You told me.
I did. Nobody even noticed.
Go ahead, edit that out.
Yeah, you can edit that out. But she lives in Georgetown, South Carolina, and I live here. So we've had separate households. But being that I'm working from home, we get to spend our time together now. Now I get to be there, helping her raise our 2 stepchildren there, and I have a 10-year-old son. So it's a lot of time for us to all get together and actually bond and live together instead of her just moving in abruptly, and then we getting to learn each other. Then no matter can't tell what's gonna happen from there. So this allowed us the opportunity to actually live together, get to be around each other more, and get to learn each other before we actually make that transition. They were supposed to actually move this summer, but
So if you don't mind me asking, how long were you guys married before you went home? How long were you guys married and not living together pre-quarantine?
November 2018. We got married November 2nd, 2018.
Okay.
Wait, whoa. 19.
19.
19. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you guys.
I'm missing. See how long we've been in the house?
So you guys were married for about 5 months.
Yes.
Living separate, and then the quarantine.
And during that time, we were seeing each other every weekend.
Okay.
Because her job and mine. And then once we got quarantined, I was like, oh, well, I get to work from home. I can go spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
And then, vice versa.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that allowed us time to get to grow and learn each other. Now we're in the process of hopefully moving in by the summer, hopefully, and getting together and bringing our house together. So now we're anxious about doing that. So that allowed the opportunity to do that. I'm fine as long as I'm in the house. When I'm sitting in the house, it's like it's normal.
Right.
Then I turn on the TV and I was like, oh, here we go. I go to the store, I realize we're walking around with masks on. Unfortunately, kind of look like, my wife and I always say, we look like we're in a third world country almost, because we walk around, we see everybody with masks on, everybody's scared to touch each other. You go up to your guy, a friend of yours, you want to be like, hey man, what's up? And then they'd be like, fist bump. Yeah. So I'm fine as long as I'm in the house. It's just when I step outside the house, then realization hits and I'm out of this fantasy world.
So if I could take the balance of everything that our men here said, to quote Ravi, we here. We had some really high highs, some very positive moments of personal growth, if I could say that, right? Yeah. And then we also had the world happening, and so I think a lot of people would probably resonate with just, we in here.
Mm-hmm. We here.
We making it. All right. Well, I think that's a good sort of moment for us to talk about sort of the current environment, right? Mm-hmm. One thing that I want to sort of check in with our men here on is how you're surviving the pandemic, right? So we had a couple of different things happen. There's a young child, I'm assuming, living with you or living somewhere nearby. So living with you in quarantine. Mm-hmm. I'm dealing with the same thing. Loving the same thing. Also a 3-year-old. So she's great. No, I love my daughter. I do. We have a marriage in separate households, right, in the midst of a quarantine. Which, if I could give my brief 2 cents, that may be the best thing to happen to you for the two of you to be separate when the quarantine hit, because newlyweds stuck in the house all the time together. Ooh, buddy, that honeymoon phase, it runs out. Gone. Gone. So, I do want to just kind of get a gauge of how we're surviving in these current times, especially in the context of where we're at now, where we're a year in, right? Especially depending on where you came from. We're a year in. There is a vaccine present, but it's a little bit ephemeral, right? You don't exactly know when you're going to get access to it. You don't know how you're going to get access to it, but you just know it's out there. Mm-hmm. And we're not exactly sure how much we as a people trust that cure to begin with, right? The vaccine. So I want to get your thoughts on how we as black men, as black people, are sort of dealing within the pandemic.
So just having the conversation with one of my frat brothers earlier last week, as far as just the vaccine, he had COVID over the summer. He lost a couple pounds. When I say a couple, I mean like 10 to 15. Mm-hmm. His wife was in ICU for a few days. Wow. Yeah. So, and then one of my line brothers was in ICU, had to be incapacitated. He was going through everything while I was trying to come back. So I had that on my mind on the way back. But saying all that to say, I think I am going to get the vaccine as soon as it's offered. I know it's not a cure. Right. Just like with anything else, you have to do your research. You have to be smart about what you're putting in your body, and then understand that you still can get COVID. Mm-hmm. So, but for me, I think it's not a thing. I'm going to do it. I'm not big on vaccines or vaccinations, but if it's quote unquote mandatory, then I take mine when I go get my physicals and whatnot. So, but like I said, I understand what I'm signing up for when I do go get it. Yeah. So it's not going to be my face falling off or anything of that nature. When I do get it, I'm gonna just tough it out. Whatever happens, happens. But I do want to be vaccinated. Number one, with my line of work, the offices have been shut down. But as soon as they say it's open, they're going to push us out there to go to different countries, and as you can see, like, it's global. Mm-hmm. So with that, a lot of the restrictions are going to be in place if we do have to go. We might have to have the vaccine, but rather having it now and then experiencing whatever I need to experience early on, I'll do it. Yeah. I drank 4 Locos before, so I'll be fine.
If you drank 4 Loco, don't worry about what's in the vaccine.
You grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah, that's true too. Other thoughts. Other thoughts on the vaccine. I do want to key in on that, right? Because as specifically as black men, really black people in general, but we have things like syphilis on our minds, right? Tuskegee experiments, and there's been debate out there about what really happened in those experiments, whether or not men were given syphilis or they were just denied treatment or whatever the case may be. Either way, it has instilled within us a sort of deeply rooted, transcending sort of lifetimes, deeply rooted mistrust of modern medicine, right? And so, in a highly interconnected world, dealing with social media apps, you see reasons not to take these things far more often than you see reasons to take them, right? Exactly. So I hear the wisdom of take it and, deal with the side effects, because the alternative is potentially catch it and die. I mean, or maybe not, right? But it could lead you down bad, right? So that's sort of the duality that we're dealing with, right? So the rest of you guys' thoughts on sort of the vaccine?
I think speaking to about people I call black people, we have that mentality of, I don't trust kind of thing. Because everybody I've spoken to, we've all said, I'm going to sit and wait and see. Right. And that's been my mentality. My job offered it. My boss asked, he said, we may be giving out the vaccine. Does anyone want it? I was like, no, I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to see. I'm going to sit back and wait a minute, see what happens to everybody else before I take it. And that's just my personal belief in kind of what you were just talking about. I'm kind of leery of experimental things, especially seeing in the news now that they only have they have the first shot. You have to take two, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, and the first one you take, but they don't know when you're going to get the second one. So I want to make sure that everything lines up before I go out and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to take it in my family. I spoke to my wife about it because she works in the Department of Disability Special Needs. So she's around people that may contract it. So I think they may have to take it, but we've spoken about it, and she's like, well, I'm going to see what they say first and what they require us to do. So personally, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to see what happens. I've been doing everything I'm supposed to do, wearing masks, staying away from people. Like I said, I'm staying in my house. I'm fine as long as I have my TV and my phone, I'm good. And I kind of stay away from, mingling and trying to do what I'm supposed to do to stay safe. Still don't mean you can't catch it. There have been people that have been doing everything they're supposed to do. My son plays AAU basketball. I had to take him to practice. We went to one tournament, and you see some people walking around with masks on. You see some people will not walk around with masks on. You see them playing with no mask on.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's still a little sketchy. So that my thing is, I just want to wait. I want to see what happens first and give it a few months. And I liken it to when the new technology comes out. When it first come out, you hear about the new got all these glitches, the PS5 and the Xbox and all that come out, they blowing up and they catch on fire. Wait and see.
Forget that. Listen. If you raise your hand if you do that iPhone update when it first come out.
I don't even have that iPhone.
I don't even have the space.
I rebuke the devil.
Ain't nobody doing that update when it first come out. I ain't listen. Oh, you got an update available? We'll see you in a few months. We'll see you in a few months.
Exactly.
I think it's the same. The same as Crystal said. It's kind of a wait and see attitude. I had COVID.
Yeah.
I had COVID in December, and it's as real as they say it is. It's as real as they say it is. For about 2 or 3 days, I thought that was it. Like this is it for me. This is how I'm going out. But that was just the virus running its course, and it gets really, really bad before you start to see the upswing in it. So I definitely see why it could be important, why you need to take it, but only when it's deemed safe. I think that past has showed us that a lot of times we're going to be used as guinea pigs. Not a good thing. That makes you want to wait. I don't think the trials included enough black people. Like the numbers that came out as far as their trial studies, how many folks were black people or people of color, and the percentage was less than 18% out of the entire trial. So I don't think that the sample size was big enough to determine whether or not we're going to be safe taking it. So,
what's funny about that though? I honestly, seeing those numbers, I would have expected the percentage for black folks to be lower, to be honest with you, right? Yeah. And the reason why is because these trials are voluntary. How many people do you know that are going to volunteer?
Yeah, like we don't.
Yeah. So, it honestly surprised me to see the 18%. Now that benchmark is not high enough, right? But also, I'm stuck wondering, well, how is it going to get any higher? I'm still not going to take it. So, you know, I'm not helping science. So, you know, it's a little bit of a catch-22 there. But Marquise, do you have any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like everyone else is saying. Well, these I am a little bit more patient. Kind of, you know, we use the the PS5 analogy. You know, it's kind of just wait to see. You know, let all the glitches come out, just see. Because to me, if we were 2 or 3 years down the, so let's say 2024, and they came out with a vaccine, I think there would be a different attitude. I think since it came so fast, that's why a lot of people are like,
yeah, more level of comfort.
yeah, it's like, whoa, like it's ready. So I think that's kind of why, personally, I would want to see, wait and see. But at the same time, I can understand why anybody would want to go get the vaccine, because it is a real thing.
Yeah.
And if it can prevent maybe you from spreading it to somebody, again, I'm all for it. But just for myself, as long as I can wear my mask, take care of my business and self-quarantine, whenever I can, again, I'm going to be completely patient and let everything run its course.
Yeah. So we just completed sort of talking about one of the biggest stories of 2020 and now 2021, the pandemic. And I think, given that context, it's worthwhile to sort of understand, what the state of the black man is in 2021 now, right? Mm-hmm. We've had some, I would say, catalysts to change for the culture as a whole, mm-hmm. right? Chris referenced earlier the BLM protests over the summer, right? And I don't know about you guys, and we'll get into it, but for me watching that, there were a number of things that ran through my mind. My pride at being a member of a group of marginalized people who will fight for their rights mm-hmm. in the face of overwhelming and insurmountable odds. My fear of going out there and never being able to come home to my daughter or my wife, and just disappointment in the way in which the protests were responded to by this nation, mm-hmm. right? There was a hope that we were further along than the civil rights era, that we wouldn't be confronted with tear gas and fire hoses and opposition and negative media coverage. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that was different this time was social media, getting an opportunity to see that there was support from others who don't necessarily look like us, mm-hmm. right? But even still, the major platforms, painted it more or less the same way mm-hmm. our forefathers in the 60s and before were painted, right? So in the context of all of that, what, in your opinion, is the state of the black man in 2021? Are we on the upswing? Are we trending downward? Are we leading our race into a brighter future? Are we hindering our people in progressing? What are your thoughts?
I'm definitely not going first on that one. I'm definitely not going
I'll
first
be the
on
brain.
that one.
I don't know. I want to say we're trending on an upswing.
Yeah.
And I say that because I think it's brought a lot of awareness
Yes, right.
to us as black men. It has allowed us to have more conversations with our sons, especially, and I have two now. I have a stepson that's 16 and my son that's 10. And I just talked to my stepson the other night, as a matter of fact, about this, and I said, because they love their video games. I was like, do you know what's going on in the world right now? What happened Wednesday? And he told me he did. And I said, you have to understand, it's my job. It's not that I want to, but I have to. As a black man, raising two black men, young men, instilling you what is going on in society. He just got his driver's license. So every time he cranks that car up, mm-hmm. his mom tells him, I tell him, he loves to wear the hoodie, take your hoodie down. He loves to play his music loud, turn the music down. But it's not that loud. Yes, but that's just a reason for them to pull you over.
Yeah.
Your music is, if you're driving by and they hear boom, 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 pull you over. That's just an excuse. Mm-hmm. So now it's given, and I like the fact that we're now having those uncomfortable conversations with our sons. Our daughters, we love them, but our black men are being killed left and right, and our black women. So I'm having conversations with my now 13-year-old daughter as well, stepdaughter now, talking to her about the importance of what she wears, mm-hmm. how she presents herself. And, they have TikTok. and they have all this stuff going on right now. So it's allowing us as black men to step up, and that's why I say it's in the upswing, because we're having those conversations now, and we're actually being more transparent with our children. And I, for one, am happy not happy that it's happening, but it's happy that we're having that conversation with them, and that we need to have that conversation. We need to be more aware. I think it's opening our eyes. I'm talking about from rappers. Now they're changing what they're talking about now in their lyrics, some of them. What we're portraying on movies now, the roles they're taking, and them being more, making sure that they're taking more roles that are putting us more in a better light. So yeah, I think we're trying to get on that upswing right now.
We're gonna put a pin in women's dress, especially because 4 of us here are raising daughters, right? So we'll put a pin in that because we got a question that'll dive into that.
Okay.
So other thoughts, right? Marquise, I heard you sort of echoing the thoughts of black men sort of being on a little bit of an upward trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just bringing the awareness, and it's forcing us to have these conversations. I mean, obviously we're having it now, but I think that's just, very critical, and that's what inspired, my podcast and my platform, the Eavesdrop, was to have those uncomfortable conversations because they're necessary, and that's when you learn and that's when you grow. So kind of like he was saying, as far as it's unfortunate that we have to go through this, but I think it is necessary because we're put in a position where we have to do it now. And if you're not doing it, you're just ignoring it. And that's kind of when it gets funny, to where it's like, okay, then do you want us to move in the right direction? And again, I'm speaking for black men, because we're all smart enough, we all know what's going on, and I feel like it's our responsibility. So again, it's a tough question to answer, but I am optimistic, like I was saying before, as far as 2021. But I think we are moving in the right direction because we're having these conversations. I think more people are having these conversations, and I think it's just going to, again, lead us in a positive direction.
Let's get a little specific about the conversations that we're having, right? So, Robbie, if you want kind of
to that point, and I know we're talking about specifically 2020, even taking it back to 2016, and I can talk about, because, being a former athlete, we only really cared about certain things. Politics definitely wasn't one of them. So moving it to now, along with social media, we have no excuse to be ignorant to anything that's going on.
Right, excuse.
So definitely the awareness factor plus social media, for me and my friends, we're definitely more involved with politics locally and government-wide. So I just, as a black man, I just don't have any more excuses to be ignorant. It's literally life or death. My ignorance can get either me killed, someone that looks like me killed, someone I love killed, because I'm not going to vote because my vote doesn't count. I'm not researching different candidates' platforms about what they want to change and how they want to change it. So again, like you said, having those conversations with the generation below us is definitely something that we need to start doing. Personally, I didn't have those conversations with my father or my uncle. My uncle educated me on a lot of other things, but not politically, that I need to be aware of what can change my life or what can change someone else's life around me.
Yeah.
So, like I said, now yes, we're trending upward as black men, but now there's no excuse for us not to continue the trend and elevate it further for those coming under us.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a good call out, because I think, and I'm speaking broadly here, but I think a lot of us are familiar with those conversations with our parents about what to do when approached by the police, right, as a young black male driver, right? Or, how you've got to conduct yourself in public, the clothes you've got to wear, the way you've got to dress, the things that will ostensibly keep you safe, right? But those broader conversations about what policies and politicians may have impacts directly and indirectly on our lives are conversations that you've got to be plugged in, you've got to be attentive, you've got to be aware in order to have. But to Robbie's point, there's no excuse not to be plugged in, aware, and attentive. So, David, did you have anything that you wanted to
I'm gonna let you go ahead and continue, because I think that everybody hit the nail on the head just about everything that they said. I don't think that there's anything that I can add of value to that. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this. I do think we are on the upswing. I think we're on the upswing simply because we are understanding better how to be men. The narrative of what a man was 50 years ago, 60 years ago with our fathers and grandfathers is a lot different than the one that we're creating for ourselves. I think that we're entering a new generation of what black manhood is, and it's not that macho role that your grandfather was, going to work, bringing home the money, not helping with child rearing, not helping with household maintenance, kind of just, doing the manly thing. And, my man got a family 2 counties over, not really being emotionally and mentally available for his wife and for his children. I think the narrative of that man has passed. Younger black men, now fathers and husbands, I think we're redefining what it means to be a black man, and that is what's causing the upswing, because that toxic masculine view, or that toxic that toxicity that black men were 15, 60 years ago is being swept away.
So I do want to go back to a comment Naylor made, right, which is that the sort of old idea of black masculinity is kind of dying a slow but steady death, right? And so it begs the question of what is the, I was going to say ideal, I'm not even going to do that, right? But what is the black man now, right? In 2021, what espouses the idea of black masculinity? It's
hard, but it's not hard to answer. I think that now we are breaking out into different avenues. I don't think manhood is such a monolith, the monolith that it was 50 years ago. Black manhood was a monolith. You go to work, you work 12, 13 hours a day, you come home, you hug your wife, you feed your kids, you go in the other room, you drink a beer, whatever, you got your side piece, all that, right?
You got the big piece of chicken too, though. I do miss that.
You do have the big piece of chicken. But I think that now manhood is, branching out into so many things amongst us that it's kind of hard to say what does black manhood look like to you. I think that black manhood looks like marrying somebody who, you guys live an hour away, 2 hours away from each other, making it work. I think you guys are taking your time blending families. You're not bound by societal laws that says you get married, you move in immediately, or, I think that, black manhood is, having a family, rearing a family from another country, right? Going and saying, hey, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to get set up and I'm going to bring you guys over. It doesn't work out that way. You got to come back. I think that black manhood is you being able to create the narrative of what it is that your life is going to look like. While doing that, still being fair and being good to everyone that is a part of your life. Just making sure that everyone gets the best. Well, I'm sorry. Everyone who's deserving gets the best of you. I think that's what black, because it's just so much. We're doing so many different things and we're branching out, and I just think that being who you are, being true to self, is black manhood. Now, there's a second part to that. I think that one of, and this is just me speaking, I think that one of the key pieces of black man, I believe that you have to have this in you to be considered a black man. You have to be able to give something back, right? You got to be able to give something back to that community, that fraternity of people. So whether it's, whether you're rearing boys, or whether you're, coaching an AAU team, or whether you have a large following on social media and you kind of just try to impart into people that look like you, I think that's going to be a key part as well. But to answer your overall question, I just think that it's being who you are and being good to those around you that are going to make you a positive force as far as, black men go.
Okay. It's an interesting thought. If I could provide a counterpoint, Drake said he's taking a lot of time to just work on himself.
Is Drake black? Are we accepted that?
Listen, he passes.
I think people in Memphis have.
The jury's still out on him. I don't know, but okay.